This computer. Cindy, how are you?
Hey, Pino, I'm great. How are you? I
I'm
see we
doing
got our gear on, huh?
where we got our Blue Jays gear on, and we're doing today. We're going to talk about three common interview mistakes, Blue Jays edition. So we're wearing our Blue Jays gear because we want to honor a great season.
Indeed, indeed. They were
So,
so close, but that's how it goes, right?
so close, but we're gonna. It was a great run, and it was really fun. It was really fun.
It was. I watched every single game as except I didn't go the one that went 18 innings.
Yeah,
I could only make it till about 1 a.m. and then
yeah.
I had to tap out, but
Yeah,
otherwise
it's
I was
late. It
there.
was it was late. It was late. But
And
we'll get them next year. So
yes.
we'll get them next year. So Cindy, we're gonna talk about today's topic is three common interview mistakes, right?
Yeah.
That we see because you and I both been in the space for quite some time, and this is what stands out for us. But before we jump into it, do you wanna give our audience an introduction, who you are and what you do?
Yeah, yeah, sure. First of all, I didn't say thank you. Thank you for having
Oh,
me on today, Pino.
yeah.
And so my name is Cindy Harvey. I'm based in Toronto, just like Pino, and I am a career and leadership coach. And what I do is I work primarily with what I call high performers, who are tend to be the results producers in the corporate world. And what I do is I help them to figure out how to design their career on their terms. And my clients tend to be, like I said, results producers, high achievers, but they also can tend to be overlooked because they're so busy working and producing. So that's a little bit about me.
Nice. Okay. A little bit about me. My name is Pino Odessa. I am the owner and operator of a company called The Staffing Alternative. We specialize in the temporary and permanent executive placement of HR professionals. Been doing so since I'm aging myself since 2007.
Ooh.
So I've been doing this for quite some time. So if you're an HR professional and you're looking for your next opportunity, please feel free to connect with me. In addition to that, if you're a hiring manager and you're looking to add to your team and you can't find a needle in the haystack, please feel free to connect with me as well too. So
Excellent, excellent.
awesome.
All right, well, I'll let you lead our conversation, Pino. Where should we
O-
start?
Okay, so yeah, we're going to talk about common interview mistakes, and I guess if it's okay, do you mind if I jump in?
Yeah,
I'll,
please,
I'll
please.
I'll jump into the pool. But so I guess the first one that I would say, what I've seen is the most common one for me is that candidates or applicants are just unprepared.
Mm,
It's the first thing that I've noticed is that oftentimes they don't know who they're meeting with, they don't know where they're going.
mhm,
Uh, if a team link, like I had this happen yesterday, if a Zoom link is sent to them, their camera's not set up,
mm.
or the Zoom link is sent to the wrong email address. So it's just being unprepared, I guess, is probably the number one thing for me is a common mistake that applicants are making.
And can I ask you from the recruiter's lens? I'll talk about it from a coach lens in a moment as well,
Yeah.
but from a recruiter's lens, what's the impact for you when you're assessing them when someone shows up in that way? What impression does it leave?
It doesn't seem like they're eager. It doesn't seem like they want the job, that they're interested in it, they're engaged. So it shows a lack of engagement.
Mm,
And if I'm working with an applicant and they're not engaged, then I'm like, I want to be very mindful of my time and their time and my client's time.
yeah,
So if you're not engaged, if you're not 100% in, then I'm going to politely move on to the next applicant. So, right, that's what it shows me,
right, right.
right?
Okay, so the lens that I would look at that issue of being unprepared when someone gets in front of you, Pino, or in front of a hiring manager for an interview is that from the clients that I work with, they tend to be they are high performers, right? So they um, are used to getting the job done, doing the work, delivering, producing results.
Yeah,
But I would say that they tend also to not be that great about thinking about their brand from an overall holistic perspective from point A all the way to the end. They know about how to produce results, which is a portion of their brand, but everything from how you show up in an interview, from how you reply to an
yeah,
email, from how when the Zoom link start or the Zoom call starts and you're
yeah,
not really ready or
yeah,
your background is messy or whatever the case may be, like all
yeah,
of that is part of their brand.
yeah,
And these candidates tend to be super focused on producing the results, so super focused that they haven't really thought about the overall experience
Mm,
and what kind of reputation they want to
mm,
create. And I
yes.
think, especially for working with you as a recruiter,
Yeah.
they're not going to interview one time in their career. They'll interview multiple times. And
Yeah.
I always say, like, you don't know who knows who, right? You don't know who knows who. So it's
Yeah.
really important for them to think about their brand very holistically, especially when they're in an interview process. Sometimes when a candidate goes into an interview, like you've already heard about them from someone else in your network or that you know.
Yes.
So all of that, I think, is part of the overall picture and some of the challenges that I
Yeah.
see from a
Yeah.
coaching lens before they even step into that interview room or get on that Zoom call.
Yes.
Does
Like
that make sense?
100%. And just to your point, the HR community, what we work in is such a small,
Hmm.
although there's a lot of people that do it, but it's such a small community and we tend to cross paths with so many of the same people.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
100%.
So, I could call someone, if I'm speaking to an applicant, I can call so and so this company, hey, off the record, did you work with this person? And they can share some stuff, off the record, right?
Yeah.
So, that's why I'm saying, it, like you said, small world, don't burn those bridges,
Hmm.
you know.
You never know.
So,
You never know.
yeah, you
Yep.
never know. So that's tip number one, unprepared. What would be yours?
I think so. Why don't you give your second interview one,
Oh,
and then I'll give the reason why.
okay.
Yeah.
Here's something that I see often, and I've seen this countless time over the years. The feedback that I often so oftentimes when the candidates go for the interview, shortly
Yeah.
after I'll speak with the hiring manager, and we'll debrief. Thoughts on the interview. Your thoughts? Did you like them? Strengths, weaknesses, all that. And
Hmm.
one thing that keeps coming up, common theme is the candidate just wasn't listening to the question,
Yeah.
right? So they just I asked them a question and they were way off talking about this, and that's not what I asked them. So not listening effectively to the question is another common mistake that I see happen often.
Hmm. Hmm. And I'm always curious. So when you see that happening, or when you get feedback from a hiring manager, what is the impression that leaves? I always think a candidate goes in to try to do a good job. They're not trying to not get it or not nail it.
Yeah.
So how does that play out
So
from
I
that
think
side?
oftentimes why that may be happening is that Cindy, maybe they're just anxious, they're nervous, nerves kick
Hmm.
in,
Yeah.
anxiety, stress they put on themselves, and as a result, yeah, and they go in with this positive mindset. I'm going to get this job. Things are, this
Yeah.
is great. This is exactly what I'm looking for. But then, nerves kick in and all
Yeah.
these things kick in and it's like a house of cards. It just collapses. And I always encourage people, listen, on the way to your interview or before the interview, get in a good mindset. Try
Hmm.
to exercise, walk for 30 minutes, read,
Hmm.
getting yourself in a really positive, calm mindset.
Hmm.
That'll ensure success in an interview,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Or chances of focusing on that interview, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah. Like,
know?
do you give them grace when you see that, or is it like, okay, this person's not ready? How does that play out?
No, I think it's on a case by case basis, but I like to lead with grace.
Yeah.
I like to lead with grace, right? So
Mhm.
listen, interviewing is not easy.
Yeah.
It's not something we do every day, right? And it's stressful and people put so much hope in getting this job. But so
Mhm.
I think like delivering that feedback is you want to be mindful of how you deliver that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For
Right?
sure. And I think that's an interesting one. So when I look at it from my lens as a coach working with high performers, the way that the reason I think from the clients that I've worked with that can happen, and you can see that in the interview process, one of the reasons anyways, is that again, these candidates are results producers, right? They know how to create the outcomes, but
Yeah.
they're not really good at positioning themselves. They don't know
Yeah.
how to talk about themselves outside of the list, the checklist of results that they've created or the work that they've done.
Yeah.
And so I had a conversation just yesterday actually about this with a client that I'm working with who was going into an interview, actually had the interview by the time we spoke, and did exactly what you're describing. And the reason was because they had prepared when you go on Google and you search, give me a list of interview questions, they had prepared
Yeah.
specific answers for each of those questions.
Yeah.
And that's problematic because as a candidate, I have no idea whatsoever what you're going to ask me.
Yeah.
And so if I prepare specific answers for specific questions, I then don't give myself any flexibility. If you ask me something that's not on my list, then I don't know what to say. So I'll say what I prepared, which can then come across as though I'm not listening or I'm not paying attention or I don't know or
But it
whatever
sounds scripted too. It sounds scripted.
100%. Yeah, 100%. 100%. And so I think that from a coaching perspective, the challenge is that as a candidate, you really have to understand yourself first and foremost. Like read your resume, understand beyond the words on the page who you are. What do you do really, really well? How do
Yeah.
you add value? How have you made an impact? Which to me is an extension or a way of positioning yourself from a branding perspective.
Yep.
And when you understand that first and foremost, it kind of doesn't matter what question you get asked
True.
because you have your profile, you know yourself so well that you can
Yeah.
come up with an answer that matches exactly the question that's being
Yeah.
asked and
Yeah.
not only positions your work, but
Yeah.
positions you as an individual and as a professional. I think that's
Okay.
the
So I agree with you just on that note. I think once you get clarity and understand your strengths, your weaknesses, what you want and where you're
yeah.
going, it's like building a home. If
Yes.
you build that foundation correctly,
Yeah.
then when, like you said, if a question comes up, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Because I understand what I want, where I'm going, and
Yes.
what I need to do in strengths and weaknesses. So once you get clarity on that, then any question comes your way is I can deal with it.
It doesn't matter what question they ask, right?
That's right.
I've seen sometimes where a person can get asked three different questions and the same example can be used for each of those questions,
Yeah,
right? Because you know yourself so well and you know the results you've created and you know how you create an impact. The question becomes more of a conversation as opposed to a true
that's right.
interview, I would say. Would you agree?
Yes, I totally agree.
Yeah, yeah. So you got to know
But I
yourself.
think also too, Cindy, just slightly getting off the road, just slightly. I
Yeah,
think we're seeing right now because jobs are limited and the
yeah,
labor market is not in a good place right now. I think so many people are just sending their resume out. It's called spraying and praying. They're just
yeah.
blasting their resume and applying to multiple jobs that they may not even be qualified for.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right? They're so desperate. In some cases, they're just so desperate to get back to work. Bills are piling up, whatever the case is going on. And so they need
Yeah,
to get back to work. And they're just applying to all these jobs that in most cases they're not qualified for. That's
yeah.
why we're seeing I spoke to a hiring manager. She got 1,400 resumes for one job posting.
Right,
And
right.
she's confident. She goes, 90% of these resumes they're not even qualified. They can't even
Yeah,
do the job.
yes, I agree.
Right?
I agree. And
Right?
I think that presents another problem too. If you happen to get the interview and you're not really a good match for the job, right, then you can't actually answer the questions that are being asked of you. You can only talk about what you've done,
Yeah.
which doesn't give the information that the recruiter or the hiring manager is looking for. It just
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
Hmm. Shall we talk about the third one?
Yes, here's another common mistake that I've seen over the years is applicants oversell their achievements.
Okay.
So what do I mean by that? So oftentimes candidates are they're so eager and they want the job that they will take an accomplishment and maybe fabricate it or stretch it a little more,
Right.
right?
Right. Hmm.
It's not uncommon, it's quite common, but I would just say be mindful of that because hiring managers, recruitment professionals are designed, they've done this, is not their first rodeo. They've done it a million
Hmm.
times. So
Hmm.
they can pick up on those things. So the hiring manager will pick up on, okay, that sounds like a little bit of a stretch, right?
Yeah.
So we all have accomplishment things we're most proud of in our careers, in our jobs. Just be mindful of, okay, don't oversell it,
Hmm.
right? Because sometimes you can sell yourself out of a job. You can
Hmm.
talk yourself out of a job,
100%. Yeah,
right?
100%. Absolutely.
Right?
And I think again from the coaching lens, like I can see why that happens, and I think part of why that happens is because at least again, the type of candidate that I or client that I work with, they are the heads down results producers. And they, even though they do that and they do really great work, they're
Mhm.
not good at selling themselves. And even outside of an interview process,
Yeah.
even internally in their current role, they're not
Yeah.
great at selling themselves.
Yeah.
So when they get put in a situation like an interview
Yeah.
where selling yourself is what you need to do, they feel sometimes the need to like prove, right? To
Yeah.
prove their results, to prove that they belong, to prove that they've earned it.
Yeah.
And similar to the second point that we talked about, it doesn't land very well, right? It just doesn't land very well. So, and I think part of the shift that I would advise someone if I was working with someone who's facing this, part of the shift I would say is it's almost like they're not comfortable. I don't know, being themselves is the right way to say that,
Yeah.
right? So they lead with their results and their accomplishments and their achievements, and they
Yeah.
expand that to
Yeah.
try to prove that they are worthy and ready and should have it.
Yeah.
Whereas I think what works even better is sometimes you just got to lean back a little bit, right? Lean back a little bit and just be yourself. And I don't
Yeah.
think people feel confident. They don't feel like that's good enough.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I would agree with that. I think they may feel a sense of insecurity.
Yes.
They know that they're competing with maybe three or four other applicants,
Mm-hmm,
so they
mm-hmm.
want the job. So sometimes they feel insecure. That insecurity creeps
Yeah,
in. But I think if you go into the interview with the mindset of like, I've got nothing to lose, just be myself, be real, be organic,
yeah,
just be yourself. I
yes.
think that's what's at the end of the day, we work with people and people want to
Yeah,
work with people and they can see through, excuse my language, the bullshit.
yeah, yeah,
They can see through that, right? So
yeah.
just be yourself. Like go into the interview with I've got nothing to lose. This is who I am,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then oftentimes if it doesn't work, that's okay too.
Yes.
You're not going to win every interview.
Mm-hmm. Nor should you, right? You're not meant to be everywhere, and I think that's okay too. I think
God
that,
has a God has a plan.
yeah, you'll find your way, right? All I always say, all you need is one. This may not be the one, but the next one could be the one that's for you.
Yeah.
And I think, you've got to get comfortable with it's interesting. Like one of the pieces of advice that I often give clients that I'm working with, not just around interviewing, but just around their brand and managing their career as well,
Yep.
is really all around this idea of knowing yourself, right? Knowing yourself and being okay. And I think we've learned a lot of times in corporate environments that it's not okay to really be yourself. Like you've got to wear the mask or you've got to
Yeah.
perform and you've got to be this, that, and the other. And I
Yeah.
think people take that from their work experiences in workplaces that perpetuate, that kind of experience, and they bring that into an interview feeling like that's what works,
Yeah.
right? That's what works. But part of their job, not only in an interview, but also in managing their career, is to connect with people, right? Is to connect with people. And that happens when you're just real.
Yeah. Yeah. Just be authentic. Just be yourself.
Yeah,
Right.
100%.
That's yeah,
100%.
I think that's a great tip for anyone watching this right now. Just be yourself. And if you don't get the job, that's okay too. You made a great connection, right? You've built your
Yeah,
network,
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So
This is good stuff, Pino.
yeah,
Do we have a bonus one that we want to share
I
as well?
do. Yeah,
Okay.
this one so this one is not a pet peeve, but it's salary expectations. Understand before you go for the interview, I would say get an understanding of what the salary the hiring manager should ask you, I think,
Hmm.
before you even go for the interview, what are your expectations? What are your salary
Hmm.
expectations? Because we want to be mindful of everyone's time.
Hmm.
So oftentimes I've talked to candidates with 3 years experience and they're asking for 90K and it makes no sense. It's not in
Right.
line with what the labor market is telling us.
Right.
So sometimes people's at salary expectations are stretched, and I understand why. I get it. We're all trying to make a little extra dollars,
Hmm.
but I don't. I think so. Be mindful of and understand what your value is and what your worth is in the market,
Yeah.
and don't lead with salary shouldn't be your main driver when you are looking for work.
Mm.
It should be total comp. It should be the leadership. It should be, am I going to learn and grow here? Is this going to be the
Hmm.
next step for my career?
Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
So if money's your number one driver, that's not the reason to get a job. Money will come.
Hmm.
The money will come. But I think once you understand, like I think the company culture, leadership, is this a place where I can settle down and learn and grow and be part of a great team? Those should be the main drivers. But
Mhm.
and compensation, I'm not discounting compensation. I don't want to discount
Sure.
total reward or total comp at all. But when it does come to that, again, understand what you're worth and be realistic when it comes to that.
Hmm. Hmm. So let me ask you a question then, Pino. So this is a topic again that I have lots of conversations with from a
Yeah.
coaching perspective. And I think one of the reasons that a candidate does that is that, well, maybe two reasons. One is that they're trying to get as much as they can, for one, which
Hmm.
we can all understand.
Yeah.
I think the other piece of it, which I'm curious to hear your perspective on, is that they worry about underselling, like going too low, and then
Yeah.
the company almost like they don't trust the company, right?
Yes.
The company
Yeah.
taking advantage of them
Yeah.
for going too low.
Yeah.
Do you see that as
Yeah. I
well?
could see that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Because they could say, yeah, I could see that from that lens as well too.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, but this is why the compensation question is so tricky. Like if you
yeah, it
don't
is.
answer correctly, then you may have a job. And if you oversell
Yeah,
yourself, then you're out of a job. So it's so tricky, right?
it is. Yeah, it is. It's very tricky. And I think one of the pieces of coaching that I offer is that to always go in with a range.
Okay.
Right? Don't just give a single number because then you're kind of stuck at that number. But no, well, even before going in with a range, the first
Yeah.
piece of advice I give is know what you need. How much do
Yeah.
you actually need to earn, right?
Yes.
And if the company, if you want to earn 120K and and you say that number and the company can only pay 100,
Yeah.
that company can't meet your needs. So it's not the right job for you.
Not the right fit.
It's quite as simple as that, but they're so nervous, I think, about saying the wrong number, getting
Yes.
pricing themselves out. And it's almost like if I don't get this opportunity, I will never get another one again. And I think there's some,
Yeah.
limited thinking around that causes some of that behavior. Like, what do you
Yes.
have you come across that as well?
100%. Yes, I do come across that. I
Hmm.
want to share just a quick story. I'll make it quickly, just to
Yeah.
make it quick regarding compensation. There was a candidate we were working with a couple weeks ago. Let's call this candidate Sandra. I said, Sandra, I have a talent acquisition specialist for you. It's at 70,000. She goes, great. I said, what are you at right now? I'm at 65. Great.
Okay.
70K would work.
Yeah.
70K would work. You know, if you got me at 70K, I'm taking the job.
Hmm.
Okay, great. We get to the final stage. We get to the offer. The offer is presented. So, Pino, is there any room to negotiate?
Mm.
I said, we discussed, we made it clear that we're looking at 70K. Well, I know oftentimes there's room to negotiate. So can we push to
Hmm.
72?
Hmm.
So we go back to our client, and we said, she's asking for 72. Is there any room to negotiate?
Hmm.
In this case, the client got upset and said, we're rescinding our offer. We're firm on the
Hmm.
70. We made that completely aware
Mm.
throughout the whole interview process. 70K was our maximum, and we're rescinding the offer.
Wow.
I go,
Okay.
right. So it's a rare case, but
Yeah.
so we go back to the candidate. They're rescinding your offer. Why? Because you're asking for more money,
Mm.
right? And so that's a severe case.
That's too
That,
bad.
but it
Yeah.
does happen,
Yeah. Yeah. I
right?
agree. It does happen. It does
So
happen.
and the client that I was working with said, I made it clear that 70 was our max. We're not going past that.
Hmm.
And she tried to squeeze a little more. And I said,
Hmm.
this is not the right thing to be doing.
Hmm.
And she was out of a job, a great job. So
Yeah, that's too bad. Like that, how would you counsel the company in that case, Pino?
it's tricky for me because I'm right in the middle. Like I see the applicant side of it. I'm like, okay, you know what? Do we lose a candidate for $2,000? There's that
Right.
argument.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do we lose it for two? But then on the other side, the client says, this is our budget. This is what I can't go past that. This is what I've been allocated for this role.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I see arguments on both sides because I sit on the fence,
Yeah.
right? Do you lose a candidate and start to search over for 2,000?
Right.
Or do you like, but then again, they're like, this is what I'm the owner of the organization. This is all what we've been given.
Hmm.
So I see both sides of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
The whole
It's tricky.
salary piece is tough. It is a tough one.
Yeah.
And I think the other one other point that I wanted to throw out there too is that I think another reason why this can come up and can feel such like a sticky issue is because with the clients that I work with, they can sometimes stay longer than they should in the role that they have,
Yeah.
right? they've outgrown the role, outgrown the company, outgrown the boss, but they're still there, kind of working away. And by the time they get to the point, either from their own decision or the company makes the decision that it's time for them to move on, their salary just hasn't kept up.
Yes.
And so when they get into these interview situations where they're starting to negotiate, they're trying almost like trying to make up time.
Yeah.
They're trying to make up time in order to get back to where they believe they should have been.
Yeah.
But part of the reason that they're in that position is because they stay too long. And really, to me, the best way to accelerate your salary, you got to make career moves,
So, but
right?
what does that look like? 2, 3 years? Every two, three
I would
years?
say so. I would say you should be in I think in a position of negotiating your salary
Yeah.
every 2 to 3 years,
Yeah.
whether that's internal or making an external move, at least
Yeah.
be aware of it,
Yeah.
right? And what do you actually need? Where do you
But
want to?
Cindy, but what if I said to you, I've been here for 13 years.
Yeah,
I'm generally happy where I am.
yeah,
I like the company. Leadership has been great. Why should I leave?
yeah.
So there's those scenarios as well too.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I think in that case, it depends on what matters to you, and
Yeah.
everybody's needs are different.
Yeah.
But if someone's needs are compensation driven, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that, we work in order to create the lifestyle that we want, then if that's your driver, then you've got to be willing to make moves,
Yeah.
right? So that your salary increases and makes significant enough jumps
Yeah.
so that you aren't in a position of feeling behind.
Yes. Well, sitting in this chair, doing what I've been doing for the last several years, I've seen people that move every 2, 3 years. You see a
Hmm.
bigger jump in salary,
Yes, yes,
right? You'll see it. They'll go from 50, 60, 70 quicker if
yes,
they're
yes,
moving every 2, 3 years. However, the downside of that, a lot of people don't want to move every 2, 3 years.
yes,
So there
yes.
is a trade-off, right?
Totally. There's definitely a trade-off, and then like back to the mistake of overselling and asking for more comp maybe than
Yeah.
you should, so to speak,
Yeah.
and risking that offer. It
Yeah.
is that is you have to also understand where you've been
Yeah.
relative to the market, relative to the offer, relative to the industry that you're
Yeah.
interviewing for now. Yeah.
Cindy, I could talk about this stuff for hours, but
Yeah.
it's interviewing and finding a job is so tricky. There's so many moving
Yeah.
parts to this machine,
Hmm.
right? And it's not as easy as submitting a resume and going for an interview and getting an offer. I wish it was that easy,
Yeah.
right? It's just, but that's why I hope whoever's listening to this gains value from this, and
Yeah.
if they are listening to this and they want to get in touch with us as I wrap up, Cindy,
Hmm.
for those who are watching and want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Yeah, yeah. So two things. One is they're welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn, Cindy Harvey. Just look me up and you'll see my smiling face. So feel
Yeah.
free to send a connection request. The
Yeah.
other thing that I'll offer as well is I have a a guide that I've created. It's a self-assessment. It's called Seven Habits That Keep High Performers from Getting Ahead. And so anyone who's
Oh,
interested in that guide, they can go to cindyharveyonline.com/habits
okay.
and download a copy for free.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect.
How do
Okay.
they find you, Pino?
I'm pretty easy. You can find me on LinkedIn. So just find me on LinkedIn. I engage in conversation with everyone. So if you are looking for your next role, if you're adding to your team, just track me down on LinkedIn. Do that. I don't have a book anything to download, but what I do offer is I have a YouTube channel which I started, and on my YouTube channel we talk all things talent acquisition, and we have great dialogue and conversation with hiring managers, and we tackle questions such as these ones that we talked today about. So I've got great content there. So if you are watching this and you need some more, information about your next interview, please subscribe to my channel. I could use the help and support.
Awesome.
Awesome. And Cindy, we're gonna hope as we wrap up. I'm gonna say thanks for your time. We're gonna pray to the baseball gods that our Blue Jays get to the World Series next year. It was a magical run.
Yes, it was. It was a lot of fun to watch.
It definitely fun. So hopefully we can do it again next year.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me, Pino. I appreciate the
Thanks, Denise.
conversation.
Thanks for your time. We'll talk soon.
Take care.
Bye.